Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our Pike Parent University educational webinars for our families. This is where we get together once a month and present an informational topic to you guys. And this month we are happy to give information about how to advocate for your student within Pike Township. So we are going to be talking about specific things and companies and resources that we have within the district ourselves to best advocate for your student. Oopsie. So we're going to go ahead and let me go back one slide. We're going to go ahead and launch a poll question here for you guys. You'll see it pop up on your screen, and whenever you do see that, you may go ahead and answer it. Which service are you most interested in learning about? 504 and IEP, English as a new language, E&L, Cummins behavioral health, school counseling, school social workers, or 21st century scholars? You can go ahead and input that now. I see some 504 and IEPs, some school counseling, E&L. Okay, awesome. We're gonna go ahead and end that poll here and continue on with our slides. So today we're gonna be talking about 504s and IEPs. We're going to talk about E&L with Elizabeth Landis, who's one of our E&L teachers within the district. We have Community Mental Health Partnership, which is our Cummins program, and we have Rochelle Dumas here who oversees that program with us. We have Counseling, who's one of our counselors, Shazay Smith, with us tonight as well. And we have Miss Sherma Jackson to speak about social work, and she is one of the social workers at one of our middle schools in our district. And lastly, we'll be talking about 21st Century Scholars, which is a tutoring program that we offer within the district. So we're going to go ahead and get started here with our 504 and IEPs. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about what a 504 is. So a 504 is a formal set of plans that the school develops to best support our students. It's kids with disabilities that need support. And it covers specific things because it's different from what an IEP is. So a 504 plan is not part of special education. It's different from the IEP. 504 plans and IEPs are covered by different laws and work in different ways, but the end goal is the same, obviously, to help a student thrive in school. So some things that the 504 plan is, and you can get accommodations for, would be extended time on tests, the ability to leave the classroom for short breaks. And it's less common, but sometimes it can also provide services for speech and language therapy or study skills classes. If you're interested in starting the process for a 504 evaluation for your student, you should contact your school and their building assistant principal at the elementary level or the building counselor at the secondary level. And those will be the people that will be able to assist you with those kinds of things. We would have to go through a RTI program where the student is assessed and it goes through a couple different tiers. There's a couple of meetings to best figure out what would be most appropriate for your student. And so next is an IEP, and an IEP stands for Individualized Education. An IEP is what lays out the special education instruction, supports, and services that a student needs to thrive in the school. So it's a very specific document that tells you exactly what your student should be receiving. And this is given to students who are ages 3 and up who attend public school. And this can be for students who also attend charter schools. An IEP is more than just a written legal document or a plan. It's a map that lays out the program of special education instruction, supports, and services kids needs to make progress and thrive in school. So same thing, similar to a 504, is that they go through this process with the school, and there's multiple people who are involved at the school level. So we have parents involved, we have the school case manager, the general education teacher, often the special education teacher, a PT, OT, speech therapist, and often the assistant principal is in there as well. And so we all meet together and we decide what the best process for your student is and the services that they should acquire. Again, if you have questions about this, please seek out your school's assistant principal at the elementary level, or the secondary level, your student's counselor. And those would be the people that would best be able to assist you to see if your student does qualify for an IEP or 504, or to begin the process of that. A little bit of rights and laws that is important to know as a parent. If you do have a student who has a 504 or an IEP, or if you have the inkling that you want to start this, you can make a request, and the request needs to be made verbally or in writing to a licensed professional, such as a teacher, principal, or a special education teacher. So it's a good option, an idea to put your request in writing so that you have documentation of that. The school then must respond to you within 10 days. And this is all the rights and laws of this whole process, because it is a legal thing that we must follow. Before the school can conduct the evaluation, the parent must provide written consent. So along with what I was saying, the whole process is that the parent comes in and meets with multiple people to discuss the best options for your student. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will get a 504 or an IEP, but it will be discussed. In the event that the student fails to make adequate progress after an appropriate period of time, again, that RTI process is previously determined by the school and the parent, the school will request an educational evaluation. Sometimes an IEP and 504 is given, and sometimes not. It just depends. There's more information about the rights and laws that can be found on the clickable link here. After this session is completed, tomorrow we will be posting all of these slides that will be available for you guys on our High Parent University website. So if you'd like to refer back to this and click on that document and learn a little bit more about those rights and laws, you're more than welcome to. So I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth Landis now. She is one of our ENL teachers within the district. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Ms. Landis take it over.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Landis. Very quickly, I'm going to talk to you about some ENL services. And as Laura mentioned before, ENL services are mostly our English as a new language services. So if we click on to the next slide, basically, the whole point of ENL services are to support our multilingual learners within the district and make sure that they are represented, they're supported, and we are making sure that they have an equitable and environment that they are able to learn in, an effective learning environment. So the MSD of Pike Township has students who represent 59 countries, speak 85 different languages, and they need support in their development of the English language. So that's why we're here. And then moving on, basically those who receive ENL support, and like we said, ENL is English as a new language. They're anywhere from students who have no experience with the English language, are bridging between English and their native language, are expanding their English skills. So maybe they know how to speak, read, and write in English. They just need a little bit more push in order to understand it in the academic way that we have in schools. Or they speak English but don't read or write, or maybe the opposite. They read or they write in English, but they can't speak English. So any and all of those in between are the students who we are supporting in ENL services. Like I said, all levels, we basically are trying to expand and build their skills in English to make sure we have the most effective learning environment for them. So then how do we determine those services? It's a little bit of a process, but the main indicator of when a student needs to start the process of ENL services is a home language survey. So when all students come into school and they enroll into a school district in Indiana, they fill out a home language survey where there are 3 questions. And if any of those questions have an answer other than English, they will then be taking the WIDA screener. And the WIDA screener is a test that some states participate in the United States, where it determines a level of English academic use that student has. The screener is a small version of it where we can sort of see a little bit of their skills and everything and determine if they need some different services from us. So then depending on their score on that, they will be put into E&L services because of them having a different language they speak. And then when they are in those services and everything, every year they will then take the WIDA Access, which is the bigger version of WIDA that's given annually, usually in the early months of second semester. We're actually getting prepared for it now to give around the end of January and early February. So once those services are determined and what they need to do, Pike Township offers a lot of different ways that those services can happen. ELL teachers and ELL specialists are offering a variety of those services depending on, their level as well as their age. They differ throughout the elementary and then secondary levels. So a lot of the time at elementary levels, they're going to be pull out or push in instruction, where either the E&L teacher is going into different classrooms to support that child, or they are being pulled out of that classroom at a certain time to do some small group work or individualized instruction to build up those skills, because that's the whole point of it. There are also E&L classes. This mostly happens in the middle school level and the high school level, where students will be put in a class with other E&L students in order to build those English language skills. The big thing is building the academic use of English, because we see a lot of the time that they are perfectly proficient in their use of English socially, but the academic English is the one that we necessarily, is a necessity that we build. There's also newcomers program that happens usually at the middle school and high school level, where students who are usually a level 1 or 2 will get a lot of work and will be seen multiple times throughout the day. And then we also monitor student growth. So after a certain point, when they're ready to exit, we're still monitoring and we're making sure that they are ready to be without E&L services. One thing I left off of there, and I can edit the slides later, is a big one, ILPs, individualized language plans. And that is basically when they will get a plan given out to their teachers on the different modifications or accommodations they need based off of their language skills. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Landis. Moving on, we have Mr. Shazay Smith talking about counseling.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. My name is Shazay Smith, and I am a school counselor at Eastbrook Elementary within MSD Pike Township. If we could go ahead and move on to the next slide. I want to talk to you a little bit about what school counseling is. The quote I put up there is, school counselors are here to help students become the best versions of themselves. And I say that because, we think back to when counseling was more reactive, and only people that saw counselors is when you had a problem. But research has shown that, everybody needs services to become better individuals. And so we want students at MSD Pike Township schools to become the best version of themselves. And school counseling is a way that we do it. School counselors work with all students. We work with students academically, on their social and emotional, and their career development. It's comprehensive. At our schools, we do assessments every year to get a pulse of what's going on in our schools. We do an evaluation from our students, from our teachers, from our parents, and we get this data and tells us which individual school and what they need. We know what the students need, and we know what the staff needs. And from that, we plan a comprehensive program of how we're going to provide services. School counseling isn't just for students who are the ones who get in trouble or the ones who need it. It's for everyone. It's for all students. We want to make sure that we teach students the skills they need to be successful in the 21st century through academics, through social, emotional, and career planning. Like I said, and it's there to help all students. Like I said, the mindset back in the day is we help the ones who scream the loudest or make the most noise or get in the most trouble. But we understand and we know as adults that life happens and problems happen and situations happen and learning deficits happen. And sometimes we don't see those because the student doesn't make a lot of noise or get in a lot of trouble. So we are in the classrooms, we're in the hallways, we are communicating with parents. We are everywhere your child is to ensure that, one, they don't fly under the radar and get missed. So moving on. Now, some of the school counselor roles I listed here, and this is just a small snapshot, but as you can see, we work with students individually. You wonder how a student gets to see a school counselor. For example, at Eastbrook, we set up multiple ways. In most of our schools, we do this. We'll have teacher referral, so teacher can refer a student if they need support. An administrator can send a referral if a student needs support. A parent can call or email for your child to meet with the school counselor, or the student can request to see the school counselor. So we have set up multiple ways for the student to be seen by the school counselor. And it's important that we work with students in real time rather than wait until the problem shows itself. And so by having those multiple streams for ways of students to talk to the counselor enhances the ability for us to provide the service faster. Now, counseling in school is a short-term thing. It's not something where we would see the student every day or every week. Once we start seeing the student more frequently, we might decide that we might need to refer to an outside agency or meet with our core team to see if we can get more people involved. Like I said, we collaborate with families, teachers, parents, the community. We're also involved with IEP meetings, behavior plan meetings. We are advocates for your student. We want them to be the best versions of themselves. And so we are everywhere that your student is in the school. We're also there for crisis support. When things are at their worst, we're there. And when things are at their best, we're there. We act as a system of change. They say school council is kind of like the heartbeat of school, the pulse of the school. So we know what's going on. We know what's not working in what area. And when we have a direct line to families and administrators and students, so we can make those corrections. All right, moving on. We can move on to our next slide. Thank you. Now, some of the common issues students face, and you can see them here, this is just a small piece. When you think of your life, things happen, life happens, and you could have stress, you can have anger problems. But, in our students, we see a lot of these things. We're not born with the coping skills to manage life stressors. And so in our schools, we see students with stress, with anger management, peer relation problems, depression, dealing with conflicts, grief, loss, self-esteem issues, academic problems, you name it. We are all humans, and our students deal with these issues. So these are some of the things that we might see dealing with our students and our families and individuals in the school. All right, next slide. So what can parents do? And this is just a small thing of what parents can do. Being a parent is, I would say, like being a superhero. I'm a parent now, and I realized that, and I thought I knew what I was doing, but I realized it takes a lot. You have to learn, and you have to constantly reevaluate, and you have to get support because things constantly change and our children constantly change. So as a parent, one of the key things we would want you to do is be engaged. Communicate with your teachers, communicate with the counselor, contact the school, see what we can do to help support you. Sometimes I hear parents say, well, my child doesn't need counseling. Well, it's not just that your child needs counseling, it's how can we make them even better? I always say, if your student's a straight A student, how can I get them involved with an extracurricular activity? How can I get them to be on the news at the school? It's more than just there's a problem. It's how can we make them the best versions of themselves? Be consistent. Be consistent with your communications with the school. Be consistent with your child. A lot of times when we start new behavior things with our child, or we're trying new things, we might try it once and be like, it didn't work. Be consistent. Be patient. Like I said, talk to your school about what you can do with your child. Listen and be supportive. I can admit as a parent, sometimes it is difficult to listen. I've had a long day and then I come home and my child wants to ask questions and I'm like, do I have to listen? But yes, I do. And in those moments, I have to understand that that's the moment they want to communicate. So sometimes we have to take a little extra time to listen and be just a little more supportive and encourage healthy habits starting at the home. going to sleep, eating right, having good behavior situations at home. Practice, 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 because what you instill there, they bring to school, and what we still there, it goes back home. Collaborate. Even though you don't think you need the support, reach out. You'll be amazed at some of the things that school counselors can help you and your family with. And finally, check out some of those great resources I put down in the resource section. They could be helpful for you to learn more, or maybe get a good idea of something else you could try with your family. And lastly, I encourage you to communicate, contact your school counselor, and just say, hey, I'm a parent and I just want to know how I can be involved. So I appreciate you being with this webinar, and I hope to talk to you soon.
All right, next we have Miss Sherman Jackson, who's a social worker at Guyan Creek Middle School. And you're muted, Miss Jackson.
Real world, that's what happens. Here we go. Good evening, I'm Sherman, like she said, and I am the school social worker at Guyan Creek Middle School. I was listening to what Chasney was saying, and I thought to myself, we kind of work hand in hand, the school social worker and the guidance counselor. And what happens, could you click the slide for me? Sorry. I always say, we're kind of like the bridge. We're the bridge between home and school. That's the job of the social worker. So sometimes I feel that you have the school's roles here, you have what the parent wants here, and it doesn't meet. So as a social worker, I try to figure out how to make the bridge. And so with that, sometimes we have some people at the school who are kind of upset with us, or sometimes the family's upset with us, but we have to figure out how to make it work. So one of the things for us here in our district is we have 8 social workers in our district. At the end of the slide, I'll put what schools has each social workers. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of stress in us is confidentiality. Sometimes what's going on at the home, the parents are concerned, they don't really want the whole district knowing their business. So what we do as a school social worker, we just say what's as needed, give you the basic information that the teachers or the administration will know to help their child best perform. The role of the social worker. I was looking at Chasney's slide and I'm thinking like, we do that, we do that, we do that. I think the number one role for me is, how can I help your student? What can I do to help your student advocate? What can I do as a family to help the school understand what you guys might be going through? I think of a classic example is last year during COVID, we had a student, she was acting up behaviorally in the middle of the classroom. But what the problem was is that she wanted to make sure her parents were okay. So that was just a simple coming out of the classroom. We called mom said everything was okay. And that's kind of the support of the social worker. What does the student need? What can we do to help this student perform academically? Some of the other things, we do help out families. We give resources to different things available within our community. The other one Ms. Dumas is going to talk about is Cummins Behavioral. It's finding what medical facilities, if the family needs assistance, what can we do to advocate? I feel like the job of a school social worker is to advocate. What are the needs? Sometimes the parents don't even know what their needs are. And sometimes the students don't know what their needs are. But our job is to work together as a team to figure out what can we do to help. And sometimes that is reaching out to the community and saying, hey, I have a family that needs this. What can we do to help this family? And if you go to the next slide, the resources. We've been very blessed here in Pike Township. We have a numerous amount of providers that have given us assistance with our families. And the other thing that has been really blissful for us within our district is just being able sometimes to just call upon our staff members and say, hey, we have a family in need of this, and we pull together our resources. One thing we, for instance, is we do have a pantry. Our pantry is open once a month that the families can come through and get foods. But however, if a family feels that they need more assistance, they can reach out to the social worker, and we have a food pantry where we can get resources. We also have resources available for housing and just whatever kind of referrals the family might need. If we don't know it, we're gonna find it. That's our job, that's our bridge, that's what we do. We try to figure out what is it they need. We might not have the perfect answer, but we're gonna try our best to help advocate for the family to enhance the student's academic performance. And I think the next slide. This is a list of all the social workers within the district, and you're more than free to call anyone. If you don't even know if there is a school social worker, you just call the school and ask to speak to the social worker or even the guidance counselor. We do work hand in hand. A lot of times the social worker's office is right next to the guidance counselor because we do work together. On our number one goal is to advocate for the well-being of your student. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherma.
Okay.
Next, we are talking with Rochelle Dumas about the Cummins program.
Good evening. As Laura just shared, my name is Rochelle Dumas, and I am the District Behavioral and Mental Health Consultant. I have the pleasure of being the liaison between Pike and Cummins Behavioral Health Systems. So tonight, I just want to share a little bit about our school-based community mental health partnership. It really, when we think about a partnership with the outside mental health agency, it really helps us build a comprehensive mental health system. And Shazay spoke about how counseling is very comprehensive and looking at all the various areas that a student is struggling in. And when we add the layer of a mental health agency, it's really looking at providing more intensive services to a select few, where as Shazay and Sherma shared, they are providing prevention. They are doing prevention to all students, teaching those social emotional skills to all students, maybe even running some small groups or meeting with students individually for a shorter time. But our mental health partners are providing more intensive, ongoing counseling with a select few of students. And overall, what we know is that mental health or mental illness can be treated. Children are resilient, and we can teach them the skills to help them manage their symptoms. And that's really what we hope to help them be successful in school, is to teach them how to manage those strong emotions that they have. So why are we even talking about having a partnership with a mental health agency? Our next slide shows that 1 out of 5 school-age children meet the criteria for a diagnosable mental health disorder. So when we're thinking about a classroom, that's 4 to 5 students in a classroom that could have a diagnosable mental health disorder. And we know that mental health disorders impact students in various ways, but they often impact them academically because they're struggling to pay attention, or they're maybe they're struggling with some depression and they have some motivation or lack of motivation to complete schoolwork. So it does impact them academically. It impacts them socially. They may struggle to make friends or maintain friends, or to struggle in managing their emotions, managing anger and frustration, and they may be acting out in the classroom. So that is kind of why we are looking at having mental health services. We know that there are many benefits of having mental health services in the school building. We know that it can improve academic performance, that social emotional competency. Really, the mental health providers are collaborating regularly with the school counselors and the school social worker to talk about what are the things that the school-based mental health provider is teaching the students, so that the community mental health provider can also piggyback on that. We know that it can improve school climate. The community mental health providers in the school collaborating with teachers, collaborating with everyone who's working with the student, so that everyone's on the same page. And it's more accessible to families because it's in the school. we know that research shows that only 50% of those students that have a diagnosable mental health issue or mental health concern are receiving treatment. So we want to be able to provide the services in the school so that they're more accessible to the student and to the families. We know it reduces mental health stigma. It reduces those discipline referrals. So hopefully they're not being sent to the office because they're learning how to manage those emotions and their behaviors. It decreases the dropout rate of our students. It decreases death by suicide, and then also the use of substances and just involvement in the criminal justice system. So we have a partnership with Cummins Behavioral Health Systems. We have had this partnership for 14 years. We started very small at 2 of our elementary schools and then added on 1 or 2 schools every year. We now have Cummins Behavioral Health Systems staff in all of our school buildings. So typically a team is made up of a therapist as well as a life skills specialist who are providing various services to students, whether that's individual counseling, family counseling. A family may come into the school to meet with the therapist, or the therapist may come out to the home to do family counseling. Skill training, where they're teaching students how to manage their frustration, how to improve their emotion regulation, case management. Again, they're collaborating with the school staff as well as the parents to talk about what the student is doing, what they're working on, and how can they continue to improve. They're providing in-home services. We also have medication evaluation and management. We actually have medication services once a month at one of our elementary schools for all Pike students that are involved in Cummins. And then they're providing crisis assessments, just like our school counselors and our social workers, where when students have thoughts of suicide, they are able to do an assessment and determine what other treatment is needed. Cummins Behavioral Health Systems employees are not employed by Pike. They are employed by Cummins, and their services, there is a fee for their services. Most of their services are paid for through Medicaid or other third-party insurances if you have an outside health insurance. And that would be something that if you are interested and you have a third-party insurance provider, you would want to call and make sure that Cummins services are covered. They also have sliding fee scales available to families as well. So how can you get our next slide, sorry. Our next slide, just, we know that, all of our students have been impacted by COVID. All of our families have been impacted by COVID. We see some of these symptoms that I listed with our students, and that may be a normal reaction to what's going on. But if your son or daughter has had symptoms for several weeks or even months, and you don't see improvement, or you see that it is impairing their academic performance, or you're concerned about their safety, we definitely want you to consider getting some additional mental health support. Referrals for Cummins usually comes through the school counselors or social workers. So the teachers make referrals to the counselors and social workers. But you can also call as a parent and request. So you could either call the school directly and ask to speak with the Cummins staff at the school building, or you can call the 1-888 number listed on this slide and ask if you could schedule an intake for counseling services. And then lastly, I just wanted to put out the 1-800 number for suicide prevention. If you ever are concerned about your child having suicidal thoughts, please reach out. You can call this hotline at any time, 24 hours a day, but also please reach out to our wonderful mental health staff at the building. Our counselors and social workers are definitely there to help support your student. That's it.
Thank you, Rochelle. All right, we're gonna wrap up the night with 21st Century Tutoring, or 21st Century Scholars. The 21st Century is an after-school program for students at select elementary schools currently. It's Monday through Thursday, 3 p.m. to 5:15 p.m. It started back in September and it will go through the end of May. The program is designed to increase academic achievement in reading and math and increase the students' competencies in technology, arts, and character education. And so throughout the afternoons, they have schedules set up where they're rotating and doing different things, including science-based curriculum, homework assistance and tutoring. They might have some computer lab time. They have arts and cultural enrichment, character education, and they do have a nutritional snack before they get started with their afternoon activities. The cost for this after-school 21st Century program is free. There's no cost to it. However, space is limited. And then students are also provided with bus transportation back home at 5:15. So, but parents can also pick up if you want your student to be a car rider in the evening for that late and not ride that late bus home. But like I said, there's limited space. It has started already. So if you're interested, just reach out to your school. And then there are those 3 elementary schools that are participating in this currently. 21st Century is a grant-funded program. So currently, 2nd through 5th grade students that attend Deer Run, Eastbrook, or Snacks Crossing can participate in 21st Century. Eastbrook does have 3rd through 5th grade this year. A similar program called REACH will be starting at New Augusta South and College Park in January. So it'll be similar setup and concept of 21st Century. It's just with a different grant. So those 2 schools will be starting. And then 21st Century will start next fall, fall 22, for Guyan Elementary, Central, and Pike High School. So if you have any questions or interested in getting your student set up with the 21st Century program or the REACH program at New Augusta South or College Park in January, contact your student's school. They'll have more information for you. All right, thanks for joining us today. We do have some questions in the chat. So if you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can allow you to unmute, or give you the ability to unmute and you can ask that question. While we're waiting on those to come through, if you have any questions for us or need tech support, myself or Laura are here for you. We're your navigation specialists, and so you can contact us here at these numbers. All right. I think most of our questions have been answered through the chat. Is that correct, Laura? Okay, awesome. All right, so thank you guys for joining us tonight. You will receive another email from Zoom tomorrow with a follow-up message and the resource link to our webpage, the Parent University website, with the slides and a lot of other resources that our speakers have given us for the night. So thank you for joining us tonight. We will host another webinar in December, so be on the lookout for that. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.